The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "If your brother does something wrong, go and have it out with him alone, between your two selves. If he listens to you, you have won back your brother. If he does not listen, take one or two others along with you. The evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses is required to sustain any charge. But if he refuses to listen to these, report it to the community. And if he refuses to listen to the community, treat him like a pagan or a tax collector. I tell you solemnly, whatever you bind on earth shall be considered bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be considered loosed in heaven. I tell you solemnly once again, if 2 of you on earth agree to ask anything at all, it will be granted to you by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 meet in my name, I shall be there with them." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I was actually expecting a different gospel today, so it's not the one I prepared. However, this gospel we just heard is such a key part of Jesus' teaching, and it's around the idea of fraternal correction. Fraternal correction being that Jesus inaugurating the kingdom, we become brothers and sisters. We're not anonymous to each other anymore. So those who are baptized, those who profess faith in Jesus Christ, are now family in a much closer sense, as sometimes Jesus says, than even family connection, a biological family bond. So being that closely connected with each other, we want the other person to get to heaven. That's the point of fraternal correction. That it's my hope, my duty, my mission to want everyone else around me to get to heaven. It's not, the Christian journey is never just, I can just put my blinkers on and focus on God and go alone. We want to go to heaven with many, many people. We want to go to heaven with our friends, with our family, with our neighbors. And so that's why we want to always share, St. Paul says, the odor of Christ, the fragrance of our faith. We want that to be smelled in the way we live. And one way, which is very hard, is this fraternal correction. Is to love my brother or sister enough to say to them, what you're doing is not leading to heaven. The way you're living is not allowing Jesus to live in your life. And some would say, don't judge me. It's up to me how I live my life. And that's true. As we heard in that first reading, it is up to us how we live our life. And there are consequences to that. But it's also, there are consequences for you and me. If we don't live out the mission of saying, of calling something out sometimes, then we're the ones. We're the ones who are going to be answerable for that. We too have to answer before God. How we lived, how we whether we're faithful in our own lives and whether we encouraged another person to be faithful to the mission the Lord has asked of them. How they respond to that correction is up to them. And Jesus then says, if he refuses to listen to these, report it to the community. So that the community is saying, look, brother, sister, this is serious. What you're doing is serious. And if he refuses to listen to the community, treat him like a pagan or a tax collector. That's a really hard part of Jesus' teaching. And yet the flip side of that teaching is to say, like in St. Paul's letter, 2nd letter to Corinthians, when he calls something out, the community responds. The community responds and converts and draws closer to the Lord as a result. So a word timely spoken into someone's life, not as a criticism of them, not as a judgment, because God is the only one who judges, but to say, look, you and I are called to the same holiness. And the way you're living is not leading to that. Maybe that's something you want to think about. And if that draws that person's soul back to the Lord, Praise God. I think it's St. James says, praise God, then two people are then closer to the Lord. So we ask the Lord for courage sometimes. Doesn't mean we have to do this every single day, but sometimes if there's something on our conscience about our brother, about our sister, when we have a close friendship already in place, that friendship should be used sometimes to bring that person closer to the Lord and to be willing to hear from that person when I'm in the wrong. That's so much part of our Christian community, that we hold each other accountable. And in this community, that the people hold the priest accountable, that the priest holds the people accountable. It must be a family. It must be a place where we want holiness for each other. If that's not our purpose, what is? So we ask the Lord to give us courage when He's placed something on our heart, and give us the right words and the right moment to say it.